Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track-downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
5 a.m. I'm up with a crisp Celsius energy drink. Running 12 miles today. Grab a green juice, quick change, and head to work. Meetings, workshops. One more Celsius, no slowing down. Working late, but obviously still meeting the girls for a little dancing. Celsius. Live, fit, go. Grab a cold, refreshing Celsius at your local retailer or locate now at Celsius.com.
Matt, we are back with more Weird Algorithm. This time it's an infamous mailbag episode.
Infamous mailbags.
Yeah, people look
Some of
forward
our
to
most
these.
infamous episodes.
There's so many things. There's so many letters. There's so much stuff to talk about. I'm going to address something real quick up front.
Ooh, okay.
There is a song that we've decided is going to be tabled until we're done Al's discography.
Yes.
But Al does have a song that came out in 2005 called I Need a Nap. And that's all we're going to give you right now. But it's not part of his discography. It weirdly doesn't feel like it's even a true Weird Al Yankovic song. It's an anomaly that needs its own post-mandatory fun evaluation. I think.
Does, yeah. We Matt and I discussed it a little bit because we'll get into the details later. It's borderline whether or not it should have its own episode, but I thought it should. Maybe in part because we're running out of songs and it's making me nervous. I can't believe how few we were just talking about. Like we're starting to approach an end in sight, and we're going to cover. We have a lot of sort of non-album tracks and. We're going to go over a lot of the medium rarity stuff, and there's more to talk about after we get to the end of Mandatory Fun. But still, I mean, yeah, it's the end is in sight. So we're gonna talk about some weird stuff, some even weirder stuff towards the end there. Yeah,
it'll be an even weirder algorithm.
I can't wait.
You know what? I'm going to start with a quick email though. I don't think I read this email in the past. This was an older email. And this is from Joanna. And Joanna says, I just realized that I get excited whenever it's Friday, and it's because I like your show so much. You've got such positive energy, and of course, your real understanding of why Al's music and lyrics are so good. You are much more than the average Weird Al podcast. So that's the energy I want us to charge into.
I love that. I love that energy.
with.
Yeah. Thank you. That's very nice.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And so that's the type of thing we need to kickstart this. Let's see.
Maybe we should be putting out our show on, because Fridays, people already like Fridays.
Yeah, we should be
Maybe we should be
testing the
trying
waters.
to brighten up Tuesdays or something. I mean, it's too late now. We've really committed to this. I should have started this conversation with you years ago.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years ago, this would have been a great time for this chat.
Oh, boy.
Well, do you remember how we landed on what day the show came out on?
I definitely do not remember that. My memory would be that you were like, how about Friday? I was like, sure.
Nope, it wasn't even that.
Okay,
it was
great.
Literally, let's put out the first episode on April Fool's Day, and that just happened to be a Friday that year, and then that just became the day that the episodes came out.
I do now remember you pitching that idea and me saying, okay.
Yeah, I felt like it was a good goal. Like, let's get enough stuff recorded that we can start on April Fool's Day.
No, smart, really smart. Well, there you go. Now here we are every Friday for 5 years, or however long it's going to ultimately
long
take
it's
us.
taken.
Yeah.
I'll do one more email. This one's from Daniel. And said, I know it's been a while since Al released anything, so I've been digging for old and obscure recordings. In 2024, Jimmy Fallon made an album called Holiday Seasoning. Really, Jimmy? You shouldn't have. The redeeming track on this, however, is the New Year's Eve Polka 54321 featuring Weird Al Yankovic. We reviewed this album when it came out for my Christmas podcast, Christmas 365. Daniel is not lying, man. Like, that track is the rare outlier on that album that I would revisit. And that is I have to put that on our list because that is firmly an Al Yankovic track with like Jimmy Fallon doing backup vocals.
Wow.
It is so not a Jimmy Fallon track. It is a lot of fun, but it's like a 2-minute polka about New Year's Eve.
Wow. That's amazing. That's okay. So I have to do another one of those like little like behind the curtain moments here for listeners, only because this is, so as you guys know, sometimes we are forced scheduling wise to record episodes slightly out of order. This mailbag is coming out before Linwood or after?
Before. This episode that we're recording is coming out in like a week.
Okay. So feel free to edit around this wherever you like. But it's funny you mentioned Jimmy Fallon because I have a Jimmy Fallon story locked and loaded for a very specific episode from Straight Outta Linwood.
Oh. Well, then I'm very excited.
I know. I can't believe there's a connection here. Another Jimmy Fallon. I mean, yeah, of course Jimmy Fallon loves Al.
We're recording this, and there's only 3 episodes left for us to record on Linwood, and I don't know which one of those songs
I'm not even
gonna.
I won't spoil that much for the listener how much where we are now compared to Linwood.
Yeah,
so it's more of a surprise for Matt Kelly right now.
This is very much. I'm like, I have no clue what connection there could possibly be.
Okay, well, people who are listening, you'll hear another Jimmy Fallon reference several weeks from now, and you'll know that I referenced it before we actually recorded it. But yeah, there you go. Jimmy Fallon's comedy, specifically Jimmy Fallon's albums, which is a very, very small Venn diagram.
I think there's 2 albums.
There might be 3, actually, if you include the Christmas one.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that there was one in the middle. I remember the one about the bathroom. It was something on the bathroom wall or whatever. And then
which had
album.
Idiot Boyfriend on it, which was like a moderate comedy single. Yeah, exactly.
Quotes around it.
I'll give it to him.
Sandra Buinten writes children's songs and gets big name artists to perform on them. And on her 2005 album, Dog Train, I guess this is giving away a little bit. There's the song I Need a Nap with Kate Winslet and Weird Al Yankovic. That's worth a listen.
Spoiler, that's a song we're going to talk about later.
Yeah. You might enjoy some of the other tracks by artists whose names you know and others you don't. Al also appears on at least one other album called Hog Wild, where he joins Laura Linney on the song Robot Dance.
Wow, so, I don't know Robot Dance, and add that Jimmy Fallon song to the list of stuff we got to talk about. I was not aware of that at all.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to do that for sure.
Great.
All right, let's talk about one of the TV shows here. And I think we have to talk about the weirdest one to me, which is Al on the show V.I.P. from 2001.
God, so I remember this show by name.
Yeah.
I certainly did not watch this show. Pamela Anderson. It is, I guess, like a comedy drama.
So I've got all the answers you could possibly need, Matt.
Okay, thank God, because
VIP is about a model played by Pamela Anderson.
Okay.
Who one time accidentally saves a celebrity at an event and gets hired by the VIP bodyguard firm to be a bodyguard for hire. The comedy action show focuses on how inexperienced she is. Many of the first season episodes open with cameos of famous celebrities being protected by Anderson. Among them in the first season were Stone Cold Steve Austin, Jay Leno, Charles Barkley, Jerry Springer, and Alfonso Ribeiro. So that's the premise of this show. This episode that we're watching is called Val's Big Bang. It was the season 3 finale of VIP. There was one season after this. And I have to read you the full episode description because all we watched was some saint of a human put up just the 6 minutes of Al from this episode. This is the full plot line. In 1951, two neo-Nazis hide the prototype of a device meant to revive the Third Reich in a booby-trapped cave of the lost city of Carmana. They accidentally trigger it and die in the explosion, and decades later, an archaeological team digging there hires Pamela Anderson as their explosive expert, and VIP is there to protect all the treasures. The Ukrainian general is on the trail of the hyper-dimensional device. Tasha and Quick, however, stay home to install Kay's state-of-the-art security system for composer Weird Al Yankovic.
Composer. I mean, it's not untrue. This show had... did you see what network this was on by chance?
I think it was like a USA or TNT, if I had to guess.
This show has, for people who have not seen it, it has the production value of like two steps below like an episode of iCarly.
Yeah.
For Nickelodeon, it looks so bad and cheap.
It's a blend of early 2000s Nickelodeon show and like late 90s Cinemax show. Like,
yes.
It's somewhere in the perfect middle of those two. I will say, though, there are some bits that make me laugh in this episode.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Al walks into the room and he even gets this triumphant accordion sound as his entrance music as he walks in, which gave me a smile. And the character Kay, who from what I picked up in this episode is apparently the dumb one of the group.
Oh, yeah.
Walks up to him and is like, hey, how come on Celebrity Deathmatch you didn't demand a recount when you were in that fight? And Al goes,
against Al Gore.
And he goes, well, I wasn't on Celebrity Deathmatch. That was just Clay.
And she's like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Says it so confidently.
Nickelodeon levels of over-the-top incompetence of some characters, like just like ridiculously stupid.
And basically the state-of-the-art security system melts down and they're trapped inside this office and it's getting increasingly hotter and hotter, but they don't want to seem like idiots in front of their client. So they pretend that there's a very intense contract signing element to this. And it jumps back from what I guess was a commercial break, and the one guy just says, well, Al, that's a new record. 7 hours to sign the contract. But there's this hilarious bit where Al is just loving every element of being trapped in this, office. Like, isn't bothered. He says something like, listen, I spend years in tour vans with smelly guys. Like, this is fine.
Well, and that's what you're talking about, the Cinemax element of this, because as dumb and as low production value as this goes, like, as this goes on and they are trapped in this hot office for an extended period of time, people are starting to like shed clothes.
Yeah. Al's in like a t-shirt and boxers.
But that ditzy assistant is basically down to like almost lingerie at a certain point in time. And it's like, wow, like it is a very strange juxtaposition of ideas. And then at a certain point, so it starts to look like, oh my God, it's just going to turn into like some sort of softcore thing. And of course, thank God,
starring Al Yankovic.
Starring Al Yankovic. Finally, we can see the wanna be your lover side of Al in full regalia. But no. But it was very, very odd to watch. Yeah, Al is having fun with it. There's definitely some ridiculous jokes. They're locked in because the clicker, it's like a garage door opener to get into this place. And Pamela Anderson, for some reason, has it in the desert or wherever she is stationed. Yeah, as you mentioned earlier. And they have to they tried to read her a code or something from far away, and then the phone died or something. So now they just have to wait for her to come back, it seems. And it was unclear how long it was supposed to be that she was gone. But when she gets back, it is as if she has been gone for months.
Yeah. It looks like Lord of the Flies.
It's Lord of the Flies,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it did not make me want to watch the full episode of VIP. I feel like I got more than enough.
Oh, and speaking of the softcore thing, at one point, Al is so stripped down, and one of the guys starts giving him a physical, quote unquote. Yeah. They're like examining him, and I was like, "Whoa, guys, this is
he also dresses in lingerie at the end. The last shot of Al is him in Pamela Anderson's clothes.
Yeah, with a pink boa.
Yeah,
and she's like, "Nice to meet you, Weird Al Yankovic," and he was like, "Can I keep this?" And she's like, "I guess." And then he's like, "Isn't it amazing? We're the exact same size." I like that line.
That's a really good line.
That was funny.
All right, let's go to another email. This is a long one.
Okay.
This is from Matt, not me.
Another Matt.
And not you. He says, hello, gents. First of all, let me say that I absolutely love your show. I'm that weird person who got into Al during the Poodle Hat era, so this album has a lot of sentimental value to me, despite it being far from one of his better works. My early high schools were all my early high schools were all about Weird Al. I wore a Hawaiian shirt to school every single day freshman year and drove my parents nuts by talking about Weird Al constantly. So much so, my family had to institute a no Weird Al talk time. I'm writing this email just a few days after listening to your hardware store episode and wanted to share my own personal theory around this track. It's my personal opinion, despite generally accepted fact that this was originally meant to be a President's of the United States style parody, that Hardware Store, in fact, started out as a style parody of Blink-182. My reasoning for this is based on the following.
Okay.
1, Blink-182 is by far one of, if not the biggest act to never get the Weird Al treatment in any way. Now, I'm pretty sure they show up in a polka. I think that's...
I don't think so, actually.
Oh, okay, never mind. I don't know why I thought All the Small Things was in a polka at some point.
No, I don't think so. Especially, it would have happened by now.
Yeah, that's true.
All the Small Things would have been 99. I mean, probably not Bad Hair Day, but Running with Scissors certainly would have been the time.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Okay. So he says no parody, no style parody, not even a polka appearance. I think this is mostly due to timing. Enema of the State came out the same month that Running with Scissors was released. Take Your Pants Off and Jacket was released in June of 2001, with most of the hit singles likely being too dated by the time Poodle Hat came around, especially for an already dated Backstreet Boys parody being included. And I think their best chance would have been an inclusion in the album's polka, but while they're definitely white boy enough, I don't think they were angry enough to warrant the inclusion.
There it is. Agreed with that.
Number 2, continuing the aforementioned timing, Hardware Store was recorded in March of 2002. I'm not entirely sure how early Al starts writing the originals for the album, but I know he has mentioned often that he does not write on the road, which probably puts the writing of this song at the very earliest mid-2001. I think there's a good chance that Hardware Store originally conceptualized shortly before or after Take Your Pants Off and Jacket's June 2001 release date, sometime in late 2001 or early 2002, when Blink-182 was popular and maybe even at their peak. Al could have easily seen what was happening with them at the time and the rapidly growing pop punk genre in general, and decided to target a song in that style. 3, Al has said numerous times that when creating his style parodies, he keeps 2 separate lists, one of song topics that would be funny and a second list of song styles. I think it's very likely that Al saw the idea of taking something very mundane like opening a hardware store and putting it into the style of a fast-paced punk rock song would be a very funny combination. 4, if you listen very, very closely to the pure instrumentation of Hardware Store, you can hear a power chord heavy guitar with a similar progression to Blink-182's Don't Leave Me from Enema of the State. The melody and structure of the verses and harmonies during the chorus reminds me a lot of Every Time I Look at You from Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, and I really do think that this song started off as a pop punk or punk rock track at its roots, but when Al decided to mix the Tool sounds, it became a different beast entirely. At its core, it has a fast-paced structure, power chords, bass line, and the Tom and Mark style layered vocals. And number 5, Al being a perfectionist is extremely embarrassed that this Blink sounded like ended up not sounding like Blink at all, hence him never admitting it. Bermuda, knowing how embarrassed Al was, made up the President's of the United States of the story to help cover up the roots of this track. Obviously, this is all written in fun, and I've always thought that it could be a tiny bit of truth in this fact, but I wanted to get your thoughts from one Matt to 2 others. Keep up the great work.
Well, I mean, I love I love how much went into that.
Yeah.
A lot of research, and you know what? I had to double check myself and confirm that, yes, he did indeed record Hardware Store after Blink-182 released Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, but no. No, I mean, even aside from some borderline confirmations, I'm not going to call them actual confirmations because unless Al specifically has it on his website, like what the style parody is, I'm reluctant to say anything is completely locked. But I think for all intents and purposes, even if the President's thing is not, it's hard for me to hear Blink in that. You are right that he never touched Blink, and that's somewhat interesting. The only thing I can think back on is that Blink are already. I mean, think about all the small things.
A little too jokey.
That's the music video for All the Small Things was a Weird Al level parody.
Yep.
Of not in the song, but in the video itself. He was making fun of every pop video at the time. Al must have had to jump through hoops to avoid doing something very similar.
I was going to say, you could argue that the existence of All the Small Things is why eBay didn't get a music video. You know what I mean? Because that Blink video is already so much of a parody of the I Want It That Way music video.
It's true. You couldn't do another I Want It That Way parody, a video parody, without immediately thinking to the Blink video, which parodied that one so closely and was really funny, and people loved it. I mean,
it's still really funny. Like that.
Yeah, it's great.
There's a lot of stuff in the 2000s that when you rewatch it, it doesn't hold up. But I genuinely think the All the Small Things music video shockingly still holds up very, very well.
Yeah. So I agree. I'm also a big Blink fan, so I would have loved if Al had done something with Blink, but I don't think he did.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
But again, very, very fun. I love the research, and I'm going to listen again and see if I can hear that Don't Leave Me guitar sort of sound in this.
Which, what a great song. Just a good song.
Don't Leave Me is great. I mean, there's so many great Blink songs. Yeah.
All right. Well, here's a shorter email. This is from Mike from Detroit, is how he signed it. Hey, dudes, forgive me if this was already touched upon, but after listening through all the episodes on Running with Scissors, I don't believe it was mentioned that Al has the number 27 on his Marathon Runner shirt that he's wearing on the album cover. Feel free to disregard this message if this factoid was already covered. Love the podcast. Love you guys, your pal and Al.
Well done. That was not mentioned, and it absolutely should have been. That is absolutely a great... It's not even an Easter egg. Now that I'm looking at it, it's front and center.
Yeah.
I can't believe we didn't think to talk about that. I guess we haven't really given too much...
I feel like Dave and Ethan and all of the other Weird Al podcasts have really covered the 27s better than we have. We'll
I was going to say even just talking
song.
about... I would say even talking about the album artwork. Like, that's not something we've done too deep a dive on. I know that the Poodle Hat album cover is also loaded with Easter eggs and stuff. Oh, Matt Kelly is doing a thing that makes me think he has something to say.
I got a devilish idea, Matt. As we talked about,
just listeners can't see, but Matt made a truly devilish face. That was the right word to use. I just was like, oh my god, Matt just became like Boris from Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Oh, see, I thought I was really channeling the Grinch from the '60s cartoon when he.
I can see that too. I can see that too.
But anyway, I think once we finish Mandatory Fun for the Geekscape YouTube channel, you and I should do a tier ranking of all of the Weird Al album covers.
Hey, no arguments here. Let's do it.
I think that would be a fun one to do.
And that'll be a good opportunity for us to correct some of our missed Easter eggs, like this one. Thank you for pointing that out. Yes, the number 27 on the album cover. I am absolutely down to do a analysis of Al album covers, and we'll rank them too. Why not? What's the harm? Some more rankings. Let's do it.
All right, we've got... I'll do one more email. This is from Steve, who's been posting a little bit in our Facebook as well.
Great.
Says, hey, this is Steve from the We're All Yankovics podcast. I just started listening to your podcast, and I'm loving it. I wish we were still in the process of getting through his songs, but we made it to the end. I would have loved to have done a crossover episode like we did with the Weird Alphabet podcast. Just wanted to get a couple thoughts on the first album episodes. My co-host totally agrees with the first thing you said about Gotta Boogie. He said it's probably 50 times that it should have... He's probably said 50 times on our show that it should have been a 30-second song. In fact, a fan recorded a quick edit for us, and it was perfection. As for Such a Groovy Guy, am I the only one who thinks that this is a Steve Martin style parody? I've always felt that the I'll Be Mellow When I'm Dead isn't about hating the things mentioned. I'm sure Al loves a good hot tub soak, but it's about the types of people who only use those things for status symbols because it's trendy, especially the therapy lines.
Yeah.
And this one, I can't even believe we didn't mention this because home run on this. As for Mr. Frump, that is totally a style parody of Allison's Restaurant by Arlo Guthrie, in my opinion. It's the same melody of that song.
Not exactly.
It's pretty close.
Wait, all right, hang on. You hit me too many things at once. I'm still reeling. Justice for Gotta Boogie.
Yeah,
I have
know.
to say it again.
You're the fighter for Gotta Boogie. I'm the
Who was it?
poo-pooer.
Someone on this show. Was it Kelly Phillips who was with me on Gotta Boogie?
100%, yeah.
Gotta Boogie is underrated, and anytime someone wants to write a letter to shit on Gotta Boogie, I'm going to come right back out, and I'm going to say, underrated. Make it longer.
Yep.
Someone listening to our show,
the 10
I
hour
want to
loop.
make it longer. Someone figure out a way to extend the. I mean, it's a disco song, disco remix, Gotta Boogie. I want to hear a 12-minute Gotta Boogie, you guys.
Like
I
the
want
disco,
a
the
full,
original cut of Disco Inferno that's like 20 minutes long.
I want a Grace Jones style extended mix of Gotta Boogie. I want to pull up to the bumper. I want to hear the whole thing. I'm sorry, that got me so good. I couldn't even think about Mr. Frump. I can sort of hear Alice's Restaurant in there. Melodically, it's a little bit close.
Yeah, the lyric, it's melodically the same.
It's melodically similar. I don't think you can call it a style parody because there's no part of the style of it is way off.
No, I think it's literally just that Alice's Restaurant definitely was getting played on Dr. Demento around the same time, and he lifted the melody line a little bit.
It absolutely makes sense that Al would like Arlo Guthrie, and Al would be on board for that. And he was young, too, so maybe this was some sort of a gentle cross connection of things. This early Al. Despite how angry you made me about Gotta Boogie, thank you for your email.
Yep. There's still one more part, he said.
Oh, God. Okay, fine.
Lastly,
don't make me mad again. Don't do it.
Lastly, I've always thought that Still Billy Joel to me was more about staying true to yourself as an artist than hating on him. Thanks for adding your voices to the Weird Al podcast universe, and keep up the great work, Steve.
All right. Well, thank you, Steve. Even though you really, really made me angry.
To be fair, he said that it's his co-host who always says that. So Steve might be the you in this relationship.
I don't know. Well, Steve didn't defend Gotta Boogie. He just wrote
no
an
one
email
wants to defend Gotta Boogie. Nobody likes Millhouse.
Someone has to do it, and I am here to be that person. And yeah, for the wait, what was the last point he made? I'm still so hung up on Gotta Boogie.
Just said Still Billy Joel to me might not be so much hating on Billy Joel, but just a song about trying to stay true to yourself as an artist.
That's fair. That might be true. I might buy that a little bit. I also do a little bit think that that's probably a more nuanced point that I think maybe a later Al would have made more than an early. I think Al at that moment was his most snarky and his most, we said it on that episode. It was like there's no limit to what you feel like you can say when you feel like no one is listening.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you start to get an audience and you have some success, then suddenly it's like, oh my God, I can't. I don't want this attached to my name. And I think that's probably most likely the scenario. But I do like that read on Still Billy Joel to me as well. I think that's a much more positive spin than how I think of what that comes across like.
Yeah. All right. So I'll do one more email and then we'll go back to TV for a little bit.
Okay, cool.
Because we had a lot of emails.
Great.
This one is actually about something from Straight Outta Linwood that I wish I had read this email before we recorded the episode, because we already recorded the episode.
Oh, God.
But here we go. Future Matts can try to pretend that we remembered this.
Okay.
It said, "Hey, Matt ×2. First, I wanted to say how big of a fan I am of your podcast. I'm a regularly performing musician who does cover gigs up in the Boston metro area, and this content has kept me entertained on so many drives to and fro. In a few months, you're going to be recording an episode on Confessions Part 3, a top 5 parody for myself, and I have some interesting notes on this. 1, when asked about Foil, Lorde said that not only was she super psyched about the idea of Weird Al pairing Royals, but she revealed that she was a huge fan of Weird Al and specifically mentioned that Confessions Part 3 is her favorite Weird Al song."
That's awesome. I did not know that. That is great. I feel like I probably would have found that in my research for
Foils. Yeah.
Exactly. Down the line. But I'm very glad to know that now. That is great. Lorde, great taste.
Yep.
Great taste.
Number 2, he says, "I've only done cursory research on this, but I am almost positive that Confessions Part 3 is the only one of Al's parodies that is actually longer than the original." Al's version is 3 minutes and 52 seconds, while the original Confessions Part 2 is only 3 minutes and 30 seconds. This is interesting because Al tends to cut the fat from his source material as well as speed up the tempo. Thus, almost all of his parodies are shorter than the originals, making this one an anomaly in his catalog. The reason for this seems to be the ending of the song, where Al continues the spoken word section of the bridge at the end of the song, whereas Usher's version fades out just as the last chorus is ending. You put your hand up, so I feel like you can confirm that this is true.
That is absolutely true. It was in my notes for that episode, and I don't think we talked about it.
Well, there we go.
So yes, that is absolutely true, and it is definitely the outro. Al extends the outro so that he can talk a little bit more about all the confessions that he has to make. Yeah, no, that was a great observation. You're right. It might be the only time that a parody has been longer than the original, because usually, if anything, he is cutting sections out. Yes.
Yeah. And then he said, is this important and groundbreaking information? Nope. But it's mildly interesting to say the least.
It is, and that's what we're here for.
And then
That's
I love
our whole
this
show.
ending. He says, again, I sincerely thank you for everything you guys do. If I was doing a guest ranking of Weird Al podcasts, you guys would easily make my top 27.
Oh, so honored to be ranked in the top 27. Thank you. That's very nice. That's good. I love that someone wrote an email just to talk about Confessions Part 3.
Yeah.
That rules. Spoilers for the episode that's coming out. But one of the things I said is I felt like that song is really underappreciated.
And
I love the fact that we have an email about it already. That's great.
I went in underappreciating it. I think I got really turned around by that one when we did the episode.
That's a dark horse, strong contender for Al. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's go to TV. We'll do a quick one here. Let's talk about the Lilo and Stitch, the series. The episode was Tank Experiment 586. We only got, this was another one where we found like a highlight reel on YouTube. And it appears that Al just plays a really annoying jester at some type of Ren fair who just keeps singing plot points at Stitch until Stitch gets infuriated and smashes up his loot. There wasn't anything that was like overwhelmingly funny in this, but
yes,
I think the biggest highlight I would say is whoever did the animation of Al dancing around deserves a raise, because he is bending his body in all types of different angles.
It's a very good look for
performance.
Al. It's a very good look for Al. That animated, it almost actually looks like a cross between Al and Emo Phillips.
Yes.
Like he's very long and kind of like super weirdly lanky, which Al already is prone to, but Emo is even lankier somehow, I think. And maybe just the court minstrels, side of it made me think of him. It's fun. Yeah, I wrote down, he's basically just singing an annoying narration over what the action that is happening in this thing that we had almost no context for at all.
I feel like I've seen this bit done way, way funnier.
Sure.
Like, I think Animaniacs did an episode, I was going to say years ago, but obviously years ago. Animaniacs still holds up great, but there was an episode that they did of Animaniacs that was almost beat for beat the plot line of the Marx Brothers movie Duck Soup, where they are in a place called Amvolania. And I'm pretty sure that there's a bit where there's someone who just keeps singing the narration of what's happening to the frustration of the Warner Brothers. But yeah. I mean, this is a classic
fine. It's
90s
enjoyable. At the end,
cartoon gag.
Yeah. At the end, Stitch destroys the loot, and that's the end of Al's appearance. It is Stitch, right? Stitch is the alien?
That is Stitch. Stitch is the alien. Yep.
I realize we're about to release like a live action version, or did it come out
It's
already?
already out. I saw it in theaters with Barb and her kids.
That's a great segue into saying this is not a franchise I know a lot about.
No, it's, they're fine. It's a fine movie and live action remake, and I'm sure the TV show was all right.
I had no idea a TV show existed. I didn't realize there was a Lilo and Stitch series. Ran for 2 years.
I got a spoiler alert for you, Matt. If it was a cartoon from Disney that came out in a post-Little Mermaid worlds, boy, was there a cartoon based on it.
I can't even imagine how much of that is just flown under my radar.
Yep. This is this person never signs their actual name, so I'll just use the name that they sign our email thing with, which is, again, why? And they just said, I don't know if you've seen this, but a YouTuber by the name Linus Tech Tips made a working 2,000-inch TV more than 3 projectors or something like that. And he sent us a YouTube video that we can watch later of that. But that sounds psychotic and also not fully true. I feel like that's some form of trickery.
I've heard the term. I've heard of Linus Tech Tips. That definitely sounds familiar to me. So, and I just looked it up, and it is a YouTube channel with almost 17 million subscribers. So that's quite good. So I've probably just seen it in my scrolling that I do to waste my life. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I'm anyone who even has attempted to create a 2,000-inch TV deserves respect as far as I'm concerned. Gotta check that out.
100%. Joanna is back. Joanna, for a reminder, Joanna was the one that told us that we're the reason why she likes Fridays. And she said, once again, Al's live version of Ode to a Superhero is better than the one that he recorded, similar to I Want to Be Your Lover. It's performance shtick that makes it so funny. His stage manager usually holds the harmonica to Al's mouth because Al is also playing the accordion, and it's pretty hilarious. It gives him some loving looks when he puts the harmonica. He gives him some loving looks when he puts the harmonica in his mouth, and it's so funny when his stage manager keeps checking his watch throughout the song. Al's pretty self-aware that this song does lead to some watch checking. There's a YouTube video worth checking out from the Spam Medley performance of October 10th, 2013, if you Google it.
Ooh, that's very specific. All right, we have to watch that too.
Yeah, I mean, I believe at this point in time, we have seen that Ode to a Superhero is somewhere in the set. I think it's in the medley of the tour right now. I don't think it's getting the full song from front to back, correct?
I believe that is correct, yes. I also wanted to acknowledge, I don't have any specific quotes, but I did note on our Facebook page that a few people did take umbrage with my feelings about Ode to a Superhero and Piano Man.
You can say our feelings because we both
we were pretty shared on that, but also like my just general distaste for that particular Billy Joel song.
Oh,
and you know, I'm sorry guys, I don't know what to tell you. It's not I wouldn't be doing this show if it weren't for the fact that I think Weird Al is an absolute genius, and I love pretty much everything he's ever done. But there are a couple that we have to just be honest about. I'm glad if people, I saw some people out there who are just like, oh no, I love Ode to a Superhero. I think it's great. That's awesome. I'm very glad to hear that. Just did not do it for me.
Yeah.
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
This episode is brought to you by PetSmart. Stop by for Yappy Hour with your pet at PetSmart. Save $5 on walk-in grooming services like nail trims, ear cleaning, brushing, and more. No appointment needed every weekday from 2 to 6 p.m. And while you're there, Yappy Hour includes exclusive in-store deals like 25% off pet toys. Visit services.petsmart.com/grooming to learn more.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
I think you're on mute.
Workday starting to sound the same?
I think you're on mute.
Find something that sounds better for your career on LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Job Collections, you can browse curated collections by relevant industries and benefits, like flex PTO or hybrid workplaces, so you can find the right job for you. Get started at linkedin.com/jobs. Finding where you fit. LinkedIn knows how.
Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to help you make the most of your summer with Michelob Ultra, a superior light beer worth playing for. Play for it with the guys when you're competing to see who can sink more birdies on the golf course, because winning tastes even better with Ultra on the line. Play for Ultra. Fill your fridge with Michelob Ultra this summer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
In the darkest corners of the internet, a nameless, formless entity has been growing. No one dares question where it was created or what it wants, but those who have been entranced by its musings chant its blood-curdling name in unison. Horror Movie Night!
Find Horror Movie Night on your favorite podcasting app or at hmnpodcast.com.
All right, let's do one more email. And this is another one from, again, Y. But he said, after listening to the Genius in France episode, I wondered to myself, hey, what if Al did a Beatles-style parody or any other band I know? It's probably not going to happen anytime soon, but it's cool to think about. I do think that it's kind of crazy that he has never touched the Beatles. He's definitely attempted to and kind of gotten blockaded through different sources. There was obviously Chicken Pot Pie, Gee, I'm a Nerd. There was a couple of these ideas that floated around.
Yeah. The Beatles thing that ultimately finally happened was Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Which was an old concept. And funny enough, if I remember correctly, we have not talked about Pac-Man yet. That's going to be another one of those songs that comes up at the end of this process.
Once we do like the medium rarities.
Medium rarities,
stuff.
exactly.
Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, that was one that he wrote forever ago. And actually, he got permission from the Beatles, but he couldn't get permission from, like, Namco or whoever owns the Pac-Man rights. Was actually the issue on that one. I might be remembering that wrong. I'm going to have to come back to it, but I feel like there was a legal sticking point. Maybe it was even both, and Al at that point was too new. He was like, these are two massive things to go for. Same as why he scrapped Yoda originally, because trying to get the rights from Lucasfilm would have also been incredibly challenging. So I don't know. I mean, but eventually, yeah, we did eventually get a Weird Al Beatles parody with Pac-Man.
Okay. I'm going to give us a pitch later on at the end of this episode that question kind of inspired in me. But let's talk about another TV show, the one that you helped us watch, Johnny Bravo in Johnny Makeover. Were you a Johnny Bravo guy?
I was not.
Neither was I.
I was not. And, this episode was reasonably fun.
Yeah.
I had fun watching it. But yeah, I don't know a whole lot about Johnny Bravo. I feel like I was able to read between the lines and learn everything I needed to from this episode. But it is a strange one. It's very, very meta. And essentially Al and another superhero named Blue Falcon, who I guess is a regular on Johnny Bravo.
I don't think so.
No? Is it a complete one-off?
So I know nothing about Johnny Bravo. I can't speak on this one way or the other, but I'm under the little bit that I know, and I wish I had researched this so I could say a little bit more confidently that I have this correct. I believe that there is a story that there was a single dorm room that was shared by 3 people that were all going to school for animation. And I want to say that it was the creators of Johnny Bravo, Dexter's Laboratory, Powderpuff Girls, and Seth MacFarlane. That those 4 guys had like a shared dorm suite. And like that's like the legend that these 4 guys lived together and brainstorm stuff. And the only reason I'm mentioning that is because those other shows also seem so irreverent. And this was like Cartoon Network just around maybe like a couple years before, a couple years after Adult Swim takes off. So I could see them just pulling some obscure like Hanna-Barbera cartoon superhero to just throw in as a one-time gag with Weird Al Yankovic and Don Knotts as like these people that are supposed to be the experts of what's cool in this time period.
So essentially, you're pretty right. I just looked it up. Blue Falcon is a Hanna-Barbera character who has popped up many, many times over the years. He was a regular on Scooby-Doo. Okay. He would appear to often help. He allied himself with Scooby and the good guys. That was good. He's a hero. He also appeared on Dexter's Laboratory. He appeared on Harvey Birdman. So he was one of those characters they would bring back periodically for these sorts of things. So you're right. It was probably a one-off. It's seemed unfathomable to me that this would just be it's so like you just drop right into this world at the top of this episode where Weird Al, Blue Falcon, and Don Knotts are in charge of another show called Cartoon Makeover.
Now, this is a Don Knotts impersonator, correct? I can't remember when Don Knotts died.
I have to believe. You know what? I assumed it was, but God help me, we're gonna have to look it up now.
But the Don Knotts of it all really kept making me laugh because Don Knotts just, I don't know what it is about that man. He puts a smile on my face.
Yes.
But I do love the idea that they're basically like a cartoon version of like Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. Like that's what they're essentially doing. It's a, hey, here's the fashion expert, here's the style expert, here's the catchphrase expert, and they're gonna fix his cartoon, and they're gonna help him get the ladies. And
dude, I think it's actually him.
Oh my God, it's the real Don Knotts. That's fucking incredible.
He recorded that in 2004. And he died in 2006.
Wow. So this is possibly
moly.
the last recording of Don Knotts.
It looks like, looking at his Wikipedia, it looks like it was one of the last things that he did. He did do a little bit of TV late in life. He also did a voice on Robot Chicken. Don Knotts is keeping busy, man. I love it.
He didn't ever slow down, and that's why we love him so much.
Wow. All right.
So Don Knotts' highlight of this, really, Al's pretty funny, too. I do love that Al gives Johnny Bravo his exact same haircut as the style consultant. That's a funny gag. There are two lines that made me laugh. One is that they give Johnny Bravo a cape that has JB on it. And he goes, JB, what does that stand for? And then there's a long pause and he goes, oh, you can tell me later.
Yeah, that was good.
Perfect fake out joke. And then towards the very end of the episode, he says, man, this episode just keeps getting weirder and weirder. And then he looks to the left and there's just a random anime character standing next
An anime, yeah. It was very, very surreal. I didn't know that Johnny Bravo was this meta and strange. That's not how I thought of it.
The only episode that I know of Johnny Bravo, and it was one that I actually used to quote quite a lot, even though I wasn't a Johnny Bravo fan, was there's a very infamous episode where he's walking down the road and gets picked up by the Mystery Machine and gets stuck on like a Scooby-Doo.
There you go. More Hanna-Barbera tie-ins.
Yeah, like I think that this was, like I said, a early, like, because I think Johnny Bravo aired before Adult Swim officially aired, but it seems like it was the beginning of them like dipping their toes into like, hey, we own Hanna-Barbera. Mm-hmm. What can we do with some of these characters? And then like the next obvious evolution is you start doing like Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, C-Lab 2021. Like you start to really push it, but this seemed like they were like testing the waters. Like, can we get away with throwing this obscure Hanna-Barbera cartoon character into this, and will people care or notice?
Yeah, and I guess it turns out that even if people don't know who it is, it just does not matter.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's totally fine. I liked in other just like random jokes here. So they basically, this also has to be some sort of meta commentary on the network or something like that, because the entire episode is about these guys are coming to make over Johnny Bravo to make his show more desirable to watch.
Yeah.
And that includes modernizing him and swapping out his cool guy sunglasses for Elton John glasses, switching all these different things, his hair, like you mentioned earlier. And essentially they goad him into this by saying, like, just repeat the phrase, anything for the ladies.
Yeah.
Like he's going to wind up winning girls with this. And Al makes a joke. He was like, I don't need this. I'm fine with the ladies. And Al's like, oh, really? Have you ever dated Britney Spears? And he's like, no. And Al's like, exactly. You need this. And I was like, I like the implication that Al, I felt like Al was implying there that he dated Britney Spears.
I mean, so did Fred Durst, so why shouldn't Al also?
I'm all about it. I mean, Al's happily married now, but I'm all about it for him, you know, back in the day.
Yeah, but I mean, it was even mildly implied on the most recent Al TV that we watched, I think.
He did. Yes, that's true. That's true. He did. Even though she was only there via satellite, you could still sense the tension.
You could say the flirtation, the love. They were covering up something.
Exactly.
We all know that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I don't have much else to say about Johnny Bravo. Do we want to dive into?
I like the fact that they rebrand the show to be JBX, Johnny Bravo Extreme. That also felt like a very specific reference to something, but I couldn't quite place what it was.
It reminded me a little bit of one of my favorite cartoons, Clone High USA, where they have like a extreme paste that everybody in the school wants to eat, even though it turns your body blue.
There you go.
Yeah,
there
extreme marketing just was a big thing in this time period.
Extreme marketing, which it was very in at the time, yeah. So, it was fun. I wasn't mad about my one Johnny Bravo experience. It was all right.
All right, so this email comes from Dan. He said, "Hi, guys. Just started listening to the show a few months ago, and I'm really loving it. It's got me thinking more about all these lyrics that I've known by heart since I was 10 years old. I just looked up what a coffee achiever is. If you don't know, ask ChatGPT, and you'll get even more appreciation for how perfectly de-evolutionary Dare to Be Stupid actually is. I also have a theory about George of the Jungle." They didn't follow up with either one of those things. So.
All right. You got our attention.
Yeah, Dan, you gotta get back to us and tell us more.
We're ready for theories.
We are both ready to go on those theories. Now I've got one more email, and then we've got 2 messages from Instagram that I felt needed to be read.
Okay.
This is the last email from Again Why. He said, "Hi, Matt and Matt. That sounds like a law firm. I haven't been able to catch up on the podcast yet, but I'm trying to do my best. Question, if Al did do a Beatles polka, what songs could be in it? Also, search up Hey Food Al on YouTube. The full song has finally been found. Thank God for the re-uploaders." So apparently the full parody of Hey Food is now available online.
Wow. Okay, well, maybe we'll have to do an episode for that as well.
Here's what I want to do with this question, this polka question. I'm going to say we pause on it for a second.
Okay.
We read the 2 Instagram things.
Okay.
We do the last TV show thing.
Okay.
And then I say, because Al would be a completionist, right? He would get 1 or 2 songs from every album. I think we go through each Beatles album and say what 2 songs from each Beatles album we think Al would have included in a Beatles polka. I think that is a fun way to close this out.
Okay. I'm going to try really hard to not have that take 1 hour.
Yes. That's a good goal.
I feel like that's the sort of thing I could speculate on for the rest of my night, and we don't have time for that.
All right. So the one Instagram message was again from Steve of the We're All Yankovics, and he said, "Hello, me again. I'm trying very hard to catch up on the current episodes, and I just finished a traffic jam episode. I saw that, and I have to say that this is the episode that I have disagreed with you guys the most.
Oh, good.
I swear I must have said, 'Are you insane?' out loud in my car 7 times. If I'm ever lucky enough to join you guys on an episode, I know what I'll be moving up. Wait, damn it, you didn't have a guest. Oh, well, I'm pretty sure I gave this one a 5 on our episode. I believe Charlie was a little bit lower, but we both thought that they kind of nailed it. Also, I'm not sure why you're having so much trouble with Let's Go Crazy / Beverly Hillbillies. It actually goes very well up until the first couple Let's Go Crazy choruses. Start with tell your story about a man named Jed. Poor mountain man, barely kept his family fed. Then one day, was shooting at some food. Went up from the ground, came a bubbling crude." And I'm like, all right, I guess he's right. That does kind of fit in to the Let's Go Crazy.
I guess so.
beat.
It's a little bit. It's. I mean, I still a little bit clunky, right? That's hard for me to imagine that's. I hear what you're saying, but I still don't know if I can accept that was. It's hard for me to believe that was the first choice. that version was the first choice. And as for Traffic Jam, I mean, I'm intrigued by that a little bit because I felt like we disagreed on that, right, Matt? I feel like I liked that a lot more than you.
I think we just put it kind of in the middle. Like, I thought that it was fine, but I think we were kind of down on a lot.
You have Traffic Jam as your 4th to last song.
Oh, well then never mind. I guess I didn't like it as much as I remembered liking it.
Yeah. And mine
it is
is
long. It's a long song.
Yeah, and mine is like in the middle. I mean, it's kind of pushed to like the lower part of the middle right now, but it's still definitely a middle song. I once again, this is like I'm pushing back on Gotta Boogie. I'm pushing back on Traffic Jam. I feel like I'm on my heels in this episode.
Yeah, you're fighting. All right.
Oh man, I'm ready to go.
This is a really long one, but I kind of love this one.
Okay.
This is an Instagram message we got literally yesterday from someone named Nick.
Okay.
And he said, "Hey guys, new to the show and really enjoying it. As an obsessive, I'm starting at the very beginning and going through in order. And right now I'm about halfway through in 3D. One thing that keeps jumping out at me, though, is there's an obvious difference in discovering Al's music that already existed for 10 years or more versus being present for its origins. I'm 52 years old, so I was really in that preteen sweet spot to love Al for those first 3 albums. Plus, and maybe this reflects a bias, but I think the 80s were different from the following decades in that all kinds of music were played on pop radio stations. I don't know if this was true in any decade before, and I know it's not been true in the decades since. So it was not unusual to hear things like King of Pain, Beat It, Jeopardy, and Safety Dance in rapid succession on the same station. There was also a lot of early rap, new romantic, and what came to be known as hair metal. In other words, we were seeped in all the songs that Al was doing. We knew them inside and out. So hearing this weird guy that no one knew come out of nowhere with these really funny lyrics and crazy videos was kind of thrilling in a way that was lost in substantial albums. I think you'll understand what I mean when you think of Smells Like Nirvana, which was probably the last time it felt like what I was describing, where Al was being discovered by tapping into a cultural moment. Obviously, I'm old now, and I don't know many of the songs that he parodies or references, but neither do my kids. It's not easy for us to be as well versed in different musical styles and artists since the radio has gotten so specialized. I honestly believe that this has made it so much harder for Al. Oh well, he's still the best, and thank you for your entertaining pod. It's great to relive the good old days with both of you. P.S. I live in Northport in Long Island."
In Northport, wow, that's where Brendan from Wheatus grew up. We rehearsed in Northport for years. I'm very familiar with Northport. That's really cool. I love that sentiment a lot. I don't fully agree with the idea that, I mean, the 80s were a very, very eclectic time musically, and I think things got a little more homogenous for a while, and then I think they expanded again I would argue years, the 90s, in my opinion.
The 90s, I think, was a really wild time, but I think the 90s was also I think I get what he's saying, though, because I feel like the 90s was when you really did start to get those specialized, this is the alternative rock charts.
Right.
Speaking as someone who does One Hit Thunder, right? Like,
sure.
We never hit a wall
yeah.
in the 80s. Like the 80s, 70s, 60s, it is just an artist is a one-hit wonder.
Right.
But then you get to the 90s and the 2000s, and it's like, well, they had this one hit that made it to Hot 100.
Yeah.
But like on the very specialized alternative radio station, they had like 5 other songs that were popular. And depending on if you grew up on that station, you think that we're crazy for calling them a one-hit wonder. Like, I do think that part happens.
So I think I was thinking about that statement as being a reflection on the music industry. And in fact, I think it's actually more of a reflection on radio.
Yes.
And how much radio changed. And by creating these substations, like you said, there was alternative stations, and then like the urban hip hop R&B stations popped up, country stations. Like they started to subdivide music a lot more, and then you could tune in just to these sort of like satellite, genre specific stations, which did compartmentalize pop music a little bit more. So that's fair. I was pushing back on the idea that music has become more homogenous, because I don't totally agree with that than it was in the 80s, but. From an industry perspective, you're absolutely right. And I do think, Al has straight up said that the changes in how music is released and consumed has really changed how he is able to do parodies. It'll be interesting to talk about in a little while when we get to like Mandatory Fun, which is his most recent record to feature just straight up parodies. Yeah. How many of those songs we feel are still relevant?
Oh, there's at least one on Mandatory Fun, and we'll get there when we get there. There's one on Mandatory Fun that I knew the artist, but I did not even know the specific song by the artist that was being parodied, because in my mind, that band and that album had two way bigger songs.
So there you go.
The one
so
that
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting now just to think about like the longevity, and sometimes there's also just a, you know, whatever the opposite of a recency bias, nostalgia. Like the songs Al parodied in the 80s feel all the more incredible and iconic now because they are true classics at this point in time, and we just don't feel that way about Royals yet. Maybe we will at some point in time. I don't actually know. But yeah, it's hard to compare them that way. But still, that's really nice. I'm so glad that we still have people discovering the show and doing the deep dive. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right. So let's talk about this last show that we have. The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. This is a show I know next to nothing about.
Nothing about this. Is this like a Harry Potter riff, it seems like?
I think this episode is. I don't think the show is.
Gotcha. Okay.
And this is that weird period of Cartoon Network. I feel like this was one of those shows, almost like their Animaniacs, where it's just pop culture heavy and parody and reference deep. But yeah, this is a weird a Harry Potter homage, and Al plays the Squid Hat, which is an obvious parody of the Sorting Hat from Harry Potter. He sings a song about being a squid hat. He teaches a voodoo class, which probably the best joke in the entire episode. I don't understand the context. Yeah. But while he's teaching the class, an owl with a human head flies into his classroom and just goes, who?
Yeah, the owl male. Who? Yeah, that was funny. That made me laugh.
And then at the end, he makes out with a toad. And
then they fall in love with it. Well, Al drinks like a love potion, or no, I'm sorry,
the toad does.
Toad drinks the love potion, and then sees Al, this like squid creature, and falls in love. And Al, the squid creature, is fully on board instantly. It's just like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty weird. Yeah, Al, like, I mean, I don't know anything about this show. I liked the animation style on it.
Yeah, it's a good
actually meant to look
90s look for a 2000 show.
Yeah, I thought it looked good. Definitely like a classic. Reminded me of the Nickelodeon shows of my childhood.
Yeah, I love the look of Al as a squid. Like, I really like the animation of his squid character.
I did too.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, it was perfectly fine.
Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Nice to see a couple like connecting segments with him. Yeah, it was fun, but yeah, not much to discuss.
Sometimes we watch something for Mailbag and I'm like, this has made me curious about diving deeper into the show. Yep. That was not the case with anything that we watched. Wanting to dive more into Lilo and Stitch, not going to dive more into VIP, not going to watch more Johnny Bravo.
Yep.
Just didn't work out for me. All right, let's try to assemble this polka. Again, I think that Al would do stuff completely in order.
Okay, so we're going through the discography. We're going UK albums or US albums?
I was just about to ask you what you think we should do.
Let's do UK albums because there's fewer.
I agree with that, and I also think that they're kind of the ones that now are also the US albums and remasters and re-releases.
The US versions are not correct, basically.
Yeah. So we got Please Please Me. Mm-hmm. Let's see, on this track list. All right, I feel like this one's probably the easiest one to figure out. I see 3, maybe 4 songs that would have to be in the polka, but I think Saul Standing There is a must be.
Yep, agreed, must.
And then I was thinking Love Me Do, unless you think that it should be something else.
I think it's got to be Twist and Shout.
Okay.
Even though it's a cover song that's so like essential to early Beatles, I think Twist and Shout has to be it.
Yep. It shouldn't be Do You Want to Know a Secret, but man, that song rules.
It also shouldn't be Boys, but boy, I wish it was.
All right, so then we go to their second album with the Beatles.
Yep.
We're starting to get a little bit more away from the covers here. Let's see. I see 1, 2, 3. I see 3 potential contenders here. I'm going to let you go first since I threw out options on the first album.
Okay, well, the absolute must is All My Loving. Yep. Must be All My Loving. And then for number 2, my first choice is, I'm going to say It Won't Be Long.
See, I was leaning towards It Won't Be Long, but the more I think about it, I feel like he'd have more fun doing a polka version of Hold Me Tight.
Interesting.
Because it's got that da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, it's got that kind of classic Beatles guitar riff that could be real fun on the accordion.
I hear you on that, but I'm going to say it won't be long. Yeah, with the call and response with his bands.
I didn't even think about that. You are
That's what I was thinking.
Absolutely right. All right, now we're starting to get into those first two albums are fine. Hard Day's Night is where we're starting to get into like hits aplenty on the Beatles records.
Harder picks.
Okay. Looking at this one, actually, I feel like this one's a little bit easier than some of the later ones.
Go ahead,
It has to be the title track, Hard Day's Night.
Has to be.
And it has to be Can't Buy Me Love.
Correct.
Yeah.
No dispute. That's it. Those are the two.
All right, how about you tackle Beatles for Sale, their fourth album?
Beatles for Sale. Okay. It's going to be, again, absolute must has to be 8 Days a Week.
Okay.
I think 8 Days a Week absolutely must be on here.
This is another cover-heavy album, I forgot.
It does have a lot of covers on it.
Maybe he only does one off this one.
I mean, it could be. If he was going to do another, I feel like it would be I'll Follow the Sun.
Okay.
Which I feel like is a really nice classic adjacent track from this record. That's also gives him a Lennon and a McCartney, which I like. So if we're going to pick two, I'll say I'll Follow the Sun. Although this is the first one that's a little bit hard to find another one that you can consider essential.
Well, now we're going to have a different issue because now we're getting into the albums that are regularly on greatest albums of all time lists, starting with Help.
Yep.
And I do think that Help needs to be there. Now, where the issue is that I'm seeing is after Help, we still have up for grabs, Ticket to Ride, I've Just Seen a Face, and Yesterday. I feel like it needs to be Yesterday.
So, yeah.
But it feels like a mistake that Ticket to Ride isn't there at the same time.
So I'm going to make a bold call here, and I'm going to say don't do Help. Do Ticket to Ride and do Yesterday.
All right. You know what's my favorite song on that album, though, Matt?
Is it I've Just Seen a Face?
No, I do love that song. Act Naturally.
Act Naturally is great. Ringo. God bless Ringo.
Underappreciated every time.
He's the best.
All right, we're going into Rubber Soul. One of my top 5 Beatles albums. Which ones are you going to pick from this one, Matt?
I'm going to say must do Drive My Car.
Okay. Oh my God, the beep beep
like
in there alone.
The beep beeps, the horn sound effects. I just feel like there's absolutely got to be there. And then I'm gonna say, then he does that thing where he slows it down, goes to his classic jazzy breakdown, and in that jazzy breakdown form, he does Michelle.
Wow. I had 2 songs I thought you were going to say there. Michelle wasn't one of them.
I realize that's like a deep cut choice. That's not like necessarily like there are bigger songs on this record, but I heard that that descending walking bass line in my head, and I just heard Al doing Michelle to it.
All right. I can't listen. This is the album you pick. I'm heartbroken that In My Life isn't on there.
In My Life is a very, very important song.
You know what? Okay. So there's a quick caveat here. Because I get to choose off of Revolver, which is, to many people, their number one Beatles album. Again,
to me, that's their number 5. To me, that's their number 1 record.
Okay, well, then I hope I do well for you here.
I'll fight you if I need to.
I'll say that the song that I would love to hear Al do a version of, but I don't think if I can only do 2, it can't be this one, is Tomorrow Never Knows, which is just such a phenomenal song.
I will also say, you don't have to pick it for this game. I feel like Al might actually do that just because of how weird it is. I feel like Al must adore that song.
I would love to see Al do that live as his cover song during
truly.
But I think it has to be Yellow Submarine and Eleanor Rigby.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense for the purposes of the polka. I think you're absolutely right.
Some other great songs. Huge ones like Taxman and Gotta Get You in My Life.
Got to Get You Into My Life would be good. It's a deep cut, but one of the And Your Bird Can Sing, one of the best songs Beatles ever wrote. Revolver is like an absolutely perfect album.
Well, now you get to do my favorite Beatles album, which is Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Sure. So this is another tough one because I feel like it wouldn't be, I have to think about it through the lens of the polka.
Yeah.
And I have to not think about just picking my 2 favorite songs from this record. So for the polka, he is going to do Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Yep.
For sure. And this might be me making some speculation, but I also just feel like, I know we're picking these in order, but I just feel like I hear him ending the polka. The final song of the Beatles polka is A Day in the Life.
So
I feel like he's ending with I read the news today, oh boy. I feel like that's going to be how it goes.
No, I mean, I agree with you, but I don't agree with you. It's Al. He's going to end with that giant sustained piano note to take out.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It's going to be like a like
100%.
A day in
I
the
love
life.
that you agreed with. I love that you agreed with me about being like, oh no.
Yeah. That being said, A Day in the Life, strong contender for the only other song I would be willing to see Al do a Bohemian polka type thing with, where he's just like, let's just polka the whole fucking song, because the song is so weird. I am curious what your 2 favorite songs are on this real quick before we move on.
On Sgt. Pepper?
Yeah.
God. A Day in the Life, I think, is genuinely like one of the greatest songs ever written.
Agreed.
So I feel like I have to say A Day in the Life, and I mean, honestly, another perfect record. I'm going to say, for me, Fixing a Hole.
Okay.
I think that is a spectacular song, and that's a bit of a deep cut favorite of mine, but boy, I love Fixing a Hole.
I love McCartney's silly little love song, so I love When I'm 64. And the benefit of Mr. Kite's just such a fucking weird song.
It is.
All right, so I'm doing the White Album. Lots of stuff to pick from this one.
Truly.
But you know what? I'm going to skip past a lot of big ones here because I don't see Al doing some of my favorites. I mean, maybe he would do Oobla Dee Oobla Da, but that song's practically a polka as is, so I think that would bore him a little bit. I think that he tries to do the While My Guitar Gently Weeps solo on the accordion, and then I'm going to bypass a lot of hits. I think he stops the polka for a couple seconds to do a number 9, and then something happens.
That does seem like something he would do. I agree with that.
Arguably the worst song by the Beatles in my opinion, but
you can't class it against the other sons.
No, it's not fair.
It's not fair to anything else. I think it's a brilliant piece, but I also like a lot of the weird stuff he did with Yoko.
Yeah. Did we just skip Yellow Submarine? That's kind of just a movie soundtrack. Right?
No, well, we should do it. We said UK albums, it counts.
Okay. I mean, only asking because I think we already put the song.
Hey, you picked Yellow Submarine.
I'm just saying. All right. Well, okay.
We have to sub out something else
this
for
is like
for
an
Revolver.
EP, so let's just say one song from it, because the other side is just like the orchestral film
Well, then it's
score.
All You Need Is Love.
Yeah, obviously.
Side note, I also feel like I can hear Al doing a pretty wonderful accordion rendition of Hey Bulldog.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty great to me. I would listen to that.
Listen,
if we're picking one because it's an EP.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the like ba-ba-da-da-da of that polka, so that should be fine. All right. Abbey Road, man, this is like my top 3 right here. We haven't gotten to all 3 of my top 3, but it's Sgt. Pepper, an album we haven't mentioned yet. Yep. Beatles fans already know. And then Abbey Road for me. I think that he goes with Come Together for sure. And I think he can't resist Maxwell Silverhammer. It's such a goofy song with sound effects that he can just go crazy with.
That's true. Maxwell would be a very good polka pick.
I mean, it sucks because I'm ignoring the 2 George Harrison songs that are arguably 2 of the best songs
and
ever written by the Beatles.
I also would make an argument. Technically, this is your album. You have your pick. But I would say at this point in our draft, he has not done anything by Harrison yet. So maybe he does the 2 Harrison tracks on this record, which is like,
those
this
are
is the
megas.
magnum opus of George and the Beatles. There's his contributions to this record.
Yeah, I'll say something then if he was going to do...
If he was going to do
I could
one.
hear that dun, 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 on the accordion with the...
totally.
That would be amazing. All right, and my second favorite album, Let It Be, Matt. Which ones are you going to take off of this one?
Second favorite Beatles record. That's a hot take, Matt Kelly.
I know it's a hot take. I love this record.
that is a hot take. All right.
I'll say an even hotter take after you make your 2 picks.
Okay, then it's... this is another one where this is probably not. No, I'm saying this is guaranteed. This has to be Let It Be, and it has to be Across the Universe.
Okay. Across the Universe is my number one Beatles song. It's my favorite Beatles song. But here's my hot take. Long and Winding Road is in my top 5. I know that some people rank that as one of the worst songs the Beatles have ever written. I love every element of that schmaltzy song. And then when I heard the Let It Be Naked version that didn't have the strings, I loved it all over again. This is the most disappointed Matt has ever looked on a recording.
Yeah, I'm bummed out. I mean, I love McCartney too, and I know what a cheeseball McCartney can be, but yeah, I have a hard time with the Long and Winding Road. I am one of those people.
I don't know what it is. That song always breaks my heart. I love it.
You know what? If Al put this in a polka, if Al put the Long and Winding Road in his Beatles polka, that would both make me laugh and break my heart at the same time, which I think I'll take. Because I would laugh out loud. I would be like, I cannot believe this man is putting this song into his polka.
We just wasted so much time because I think I know exactly what Al should have done and would have done if he could afford to do this. Remember when they put out that Beatles album just called Number Ones? That was just every number one. He would have just done the whole track list of number ones.
That could have worked. That definitely could have worked because, of course, when you do the discography, you actually miss out on a lot of their singles.
Yeah.
Because
some really good ones.
Yeah.
Really good ones.
A lot of the Beatles' biggest songs were not on albums. It's a crazy thing to think about nowadays, but it's true.
All right. Well, Matt, this is possibly our longest mailbag ever.
Yeah, but that was fun, though. Thank you for encouraging us to play a game with Beatles songs.
Yeah. And I guess we can talk about a little bit of this. I don't know when the time frame is when we're allowed to legally talk about the details, but hey, we're going to be at San Diego Comic-Con
a month legally.
A month from when this episode's out. We will have already probably done a panel, but we'll be there with Dave and Ethan and UH Jeff and Kelly Phillips and a few other fun guests, including Matt. There's one guest that I know you're particularly excited about.
Yeah, I am excited.
I think we can say who it is.
Are we allowed to say?
I think we can say who our guests are.
As you just pointed out, at this point, it's okay to say because the panel will already have happened.
Yeah. Well, no, this episode is coming out next week, so the panel hasn't already happened.
Oh, so the panel has not happened yet. Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know what we were allowed to. Guys,
I
don't know. I never know what we're allowed to say.
I don't either. I think the stuff that we're not allowed to say are the details about the where and the when until San Diego Comic-Con releases their like official schedule. But we are allowed to say that we're going to be there and that we're going to be doing a thing and who's going to be there doing that thing. And Matt, who do we have that's like our big guest of honor as we talk about Dare to Be Stupid?
We have Eric Appel, the director of Weird.
Yep.
And I hope I was allowed to say that. I hope Matt Kelly just didn't trick me into violating some rule.
It was him, Comic-Con. Take his badge away.
Take my badge away. We're super, super excited. It's an amazing guest opportunity for us. We're going to get to talk to him about Weird a little bit, I'm sure, and about Dare to Be Stupid. It's going to be great, guys. I mean, we're so excited about it. Please, it was so fun last year. If you are listening to this and you are going to Comic-Con in the San Diego area, whatever, please do come check it out at a place and time that we will tell you about later.
Yeah, you'll have to check our socials. That'll be like the number one spot where you'll see it.
We will definitely post it there.
We'll be back next week with Straight Outta Linwood.
Yes.
All right.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.